Hi there, everybody, and I thought I'd just have a little play around with Championship Manager 0102. Game firmly in my heart. One of the, probably with CM97, 98, the two games that I played the most in the whole Champman and Football Manager franchises. Inspired by El Expo, Golden FM, all the other people that have done these kind of games over the years, I thought, considering it's 20 years, there's lots of talk about it being 20 years at the time being from various events like awful things like 9/11 to various other things. I thought, what about a 20-year into the future from 0102 to the start of 21-22 and see what Championship Manager thought the world of football might be like. So the way I've done this is with the original database. There were a couple of the available things that are fantastically available. I'll put a link in the comments for updating the game. Just some of the tweak stuff I've installed, such as making it easier for managers to move abroad, because I've been playing a different game where that was kind of my intention, to move around as much as possible, which some of you will remember wasn't very easy in 0102 by itself. To keep the database ticking along, I had to keep adding myself on and off as a non-league manager. So hopefully any of the influences of the managers that I've managed as on this won't have impacted anything, because I've just been in below the league structure in England and just letting the database run until it kind of reached a point where it insisted on me doing something and retiring and adding myself back in as a new manager. In 2021, we've just had the news that ABBA are coming back or doing some virtual shows or whatever. So hence the name here, Benny and Bjorn with Haven't and Waterlooville. You might have guessed what I've done there, and that's where we are with that. So where to start? Well, I thought we'd make a start with manager reputations. Usually by 20 years in on one of these games, you'd expect to be the top of kind of these lists in terms of the world or whatever. Just in terms of leagues that are set up on this game, England, France, Germany, Italy, Spain basically went for the big five leagues. Again, some of you remember on 0102, Rangers and Celtic are pretty big players still in this world, Ajax and PSV. For example, I had one game where Denmark were in the background, and for some reason, all of a sudden, Copenhagen, after about 10 years in, were like winning all the European competitions. And some of the smaller Danish teams are really getting involved in Europe as well. So I kind of thought, well, I'll try and weight it towards realism or what's actually happened in the last 20 years in real life by saying that we'll have England, France, Germany, to Spain, but we'll see what's happened. I haven't looked at any of this as yet. I'll probably cut the video a bit to tidy it up as I go around. So if we have a look around, the only world-class manager in England is a man called David Stevens. I'm not entirely sure who this is. This is probably going to be a sign of me not always being aware. So he became a coach in 2012, and then he's worked his way up through Coventry, West Ham, and then on to Spurs. So he was probably a player at the start who then retired in 2012, or maybe he's a kind of coach regen. Anyway, John Collins, be more familiar. Great Scottish player, of course. Perhaps a surprise that he hasn't become a manager. I don't know what he is doing in real life. Kevin Jobling sounds like probably someone that's made up, but there's going to be lots of people from early noughties football fans shouting at me for not knowing who some of these people are there, I guess. Then perhaps the first really predictable name, Ruud Gullit, is in here. And noticeably, one that jumps out straight away is Frank Rijkaard at Wrexham. Interesting choice of club. Wrexham, 6th in the first division. Just a reminder, this is the point where the first division is the first division, or what is now the Championship in England. If we just quickly follow that Wrexham are in the playoff places currently, with the season's only just started, as in real life it has for me in 2021. Just looking at the table here, we've obviously got some big hitters who've fallen down from the Premier League at some point. Arsenal, Everton and Newcastle. A few teams that have gone by the by completely in real life, Scarborough and Darlington. Otherwise, it's not too far off the kind of table that you might expect in the second tier of English football, likes of Sheffield United, Watford, who've been yo-yoing in the Premier League in real life, Crewe, who used to be a bit of a staple, but kind of not so much in recent years. Peterborough back into the Championship, Bournemouth, Sheffield Wednesday, Reading, all had plenty of time at this level. So let's just go back to the managers again quickly. David O'Leary, an interesting one. He was, of course, riding high with Leeds when this game was originally made, so he might have perfectly justifiably expected that he would become the sort of next Sir Alex Ferguson type person with a really long career. That's obviously not happened for him. Didier Ole Nicole at Leicester sounds like the kind of person that Leicester would have hired back in the day before they got perhaps a bit more sensible with the likes of Brendan Rodgers. And some real life names who are sticking around still, maybe in the lower tiers rather than having top reputations in the country, but the likes of Phil Brown, Ian Holloway, Mick McCarthy, and Mark Hughes, all there. If we go to France, Joachim Low, interesting. Obviously, great managerial career with Germany in real life, but he's got a superb reputation with Lyon here. Some big name players from the 90s and early noughties, Emmanuel Petit, Andres Bremer, Rafael Guerrero even. Didier Deschamps, of course, a top managerial career in real life. Not quite so much here with Angers. Let's have a look to see quickly what, if anything, Didier has been up to. Let's see if he's won anything. No awards. It looks like he's moved around quite a few of the French clubs. Over in Germany, Darren Blake. Interesting. With Emmerdingen, a world-class reputation. Might be the database playing a little bit there, maybe, where Emmerdingen, they're a non-league team, so I don't think we necessarily will believe that one. Ralph Ragnick, Bernd Schuster, Gary Megson at Hertha Berlin. Over to Italy, Gasparini, of course, doing well in real life. How old is he? Actually, 63 now. So, he's done well in real life, and he's still doing well here. Matthias Sammer, who certainly on my other game, or some of my other games, has been sort of the top manager who I'm often competing against in Champions League finals and the like. David Moyes, of course, had that trip to Sociedad in real life. Gianluca Vialli, helping out with the Italian national team with Roberto Mancini, so 7th and 13th, the kind of Italian national team duo in real life, but here they're competing with each other at club level. And over in Spain, Mark Kerr, the absolute central midfield legend on this version of Championship Manager, 64 caps for Scotland, 39 years of age, already managing at a world-class level with Villarreal. Rudi Voller, I think, also often does well at this game. Lots of world-class and superb managers in Spain. How far down does that go? All the way to 17th. Roy Keane is over here. Oliver Kahn, Herrero. Interesting combo. The opening up the patch to open up foreign travel for managers, certainly changing things a bit. So if we filter that to all nations, there's the top 16. Only three international. So we've got 3 international managers here: Germany, Italy, France, by the looks of it. So that immediately probably opens up the question of how well teams have done in the international sphere. So before we look at the league tables, let's have a look at. So before we look at the league tables, let's have a look at some of the international setup. So England, any of these guys actually playing for England in 2021? Probably not. It'd be pushing it. You'd have to really be a sort of 16-year-old wonder kid, wouldn't you, to still be on the game by this point as a player. Let's have a look at their history. World Cup qualifiers, qualified 3 times, as you'd probably expect for England. European Championships, winning it in 2012. Pretty good achievements otherwise, a final and a semi-final. Qualified for the Euros, qualified for the Euro every time. World Cup, quarterfinals, winners, quarterfinals. So 2006 World Cup winners, followed up by a Euros win. No Confederations Cup, but I won't be surprised that they're not too worried about that. Nicky Law as manager, he was quite high in the rankings, so not good enough for third place in the World Cup, evidently, for Nicky Law. And it's Big Sam Allardyce, the man that replaced Sven. Sven winning the World Cup, getting sacked 5 years later, and then Big Sam winning the Euros 6 months into the job. Good for Big Sam. Of course, got the job in real life, but didn't happen for him and beyond that. Oldest player was Joe Cole, 36 back in 18, so he's probably the last of the original players to be playing, perhaps. Now coaching at Manchester City. Most goals in a match, Michael Owen. Now manager in Altrincham in non-league. No TV deals for this Michael Owen. If there's anything you want me to be looking at in the database, do let me know in the comments. I can come back and have a look at things. As you'd expect, Wembley pretty full, up to 90,000 all the time. Let's have a look at some sequences. Most games won in a row. No, 1 year with double figures. 10 games won in a row in 2004, 2005. Top goal scorers. How far back do we have to go for somebody that's name we recognise? Probably 2014 by the looks of it. Alan Smith. Of course, again, like O'Leary, part of that Leeds team that would have been expected to do a lot more. 2012, only 3 goals from Marcus Bent, which is interesting considering wasn't 2012 the year that they won? Wasn't 2012 the year that they won the championships? Yes. So the 2012 European Championships might have been an interesting one. England winning them with a top goal scorer of 3 goals. Other years, only 2 goals as top goal scorer for Steven Gerrard and Andrew Cole. No top goal scorer in 2009. Somehow must have not had any games in 2009. Anyway, so that's top goal scorer. Most assists, how far do we have to go back? Peter Dunn, 29. No, he's a regen. Simon Simpson, who seems to be on a lot of these lists. He's a scout now at 36. Would he have been around at the start? No, probably not. Although he had obviously had a good career, Liverpool, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Luke Chadwick and Joe Cole. Steven Gerrard still around in 2011. Darren Eadie, another good player on this version of the game. Didn't really quite reach those heights in real life. I think he had a bad injury, did he not? Again, remind me. So that's what's happened with England. Maybe if we go back to the World Cup. Can't see the draw for the next one yet. But the last final, Spain won. Again, 2018, just probably after the last of the players would have gone. England winning that third place playoff against Ukraine, as we knew. England losing, after extra time to Spain. Lozano with a 10 from right back. It looks pretty good. Living up to the sort of real life that right backs have become the most important players, at least for England. So if we have a look at maybe some of the player stats in the World Cup, it doesn't let me see who the Golden Boot winners or anything were. I think it does show the team of the tournament, does it? Wherever that is, awards. Dream Team. Okay, so the 2018 Dream Team, I think they're all probably people that have been created after the start point. 2014, we might get a few more names that look familiar. Nothing. Oh, Javier Saviola. There we go. The man, the legend himself. Now 39 and acting as a scout, but he was still playing at Barcelona through to 2016. He starts at Barcelona. Yes, he starts at Barcelona, and he made the. So he's at Barcelona still till 2016. He's in the World Cup team in the tournament in 2014. Wayne Rooney, no longer in the game, hasn't gone into management like in real life. He's made the bench for England. I think everybody else is probably regens or random people. 2010, we'll probably get a few more names. Jan Allen Boom Song, even perhaps. Obviously, a bit of a northeast feel here. Boom Song playing for Newcastle in real life. Houllier Arca, now an assistant manager at Macaloon. I do not know where Macaloon are. Cairo, okay. Deisler, David Trezeguet, Saviola only on the bench that time. So a few names there. We go back to 2016, a few more people should be familiar to us here. Perhaps Ashley Cole, Christian Verns, who's excellent on this version, Lee Bowyer, who was very good on this version of the game, Donny and Vieira. The actual World Cup 2002 looks like USA probably did quite well. They got 2 men into the team. Probably not quite the players that had an impact in real life. Emil Mapenza probably never did anything quite at international level, but perhaps Lukaku has had the career that everyone thought he would have. Trebo West, legendarily available on the free transfer, of course, on this game, who did sign him. Verona at the start of the game, signing him before he moved on to Juventus and Barcelona and Roma. Not bad stats for somebody looking for a job as a manager either. So that's the World Cup we've had a quick look at. Internationally, we saw that England had won 1 Euros. World Championship for the clubs. Let's just see if there's any surprising names in this. Interesting. So maybe there is some kind of weighting towards Denmark, even though I haven't had the Denmark teams fully loaded. Brøndby have still managed to win a World Championship. This is based on the period when the World Championship was every year, and it had been expanded. It was like the version when Manchester United caused all the controversy by dropping out of the FA Cup. They still could have just had a third round bye, right? But anyway, all these years on, ruined the FA Cup by messing about with it like that. No, I suppose the fact that Melbourne Knights obviously had beaten Barcelona, Sundowns have beaten Aston Villa, might be a bit surprising. You still get into this by, I think, winning the UEFA Cup as well. So maybe some of these European names have snuck in that way. The Champions League. Of course, a lot of people would say this is the real pinnacle of club football. Villa, again, they won it. So their competition in the World Championship was justified. Otherwise, Roma and Lazio, who were excellent at the start of the game, looked like they carried on doing pretty well into 2012. Celtic was still hanging in there, even though the Scottish League wasn't one of the main ones. Middlesbrough, who have kind of fallen away a bit in real life, but have managed to keep at the top level by the looks of it. Newcastle winning the Champions League in 2006. Living the dream there. Rosenborg in 2003. Impressive for them, but otherwise it's some of the big teams, the Leedses, Romas, Arsenals who've kind of held on. Real Madrid and Barcelona having their names scattered in here, but not quite the dominance of some of the big names that we've seen in real life. Limited Manchester United, obviously no Manchester City, no Chelsea. It's before they got the cash injections and would have had the kind of reputation to be fighting it out here. Let's have a look at the Premier League history now just to see how that's gone. So there's a few names that have come up through the tiers. Wrexham in 2017, the big ones. Chelsea have had success domestically, if not in Europe, 2010, 2011. More recent years, Bolton, Aston Villa with a number of championships in the 2010s. Let's have a look at Villa quickly. If they still at Villa Park, yep, 66,000. Nicky Law, who of course was England manager, so they've got some prestige there. Wimbledon, pre-AFC, so pretty fantastic that they've not only survived as a club, but they're really doing well. Still playing at Selhurst Park. Might be winning or running up, coming second in the Premier League, but they're still 20 years on ground sharing with Crystal Palace. How are Crystal Palace doing in comparison? I haven't noticed their name anyway. It doesn't let me link from there. Okay. Domination from Manchester United. They continued the real life form all the way through till that Newcastle win in 2006. In fact, United winning every title for 10 years, apart from that one Newcastle blip, I suppose you'd say. And then United seem to have fallen away a bit since then. Only one runners up. Let's have a look to see what's happened there. Is it, I'm going to hazard a guess that it might be the retirement of Mr. Ferguson, but let's have a look. Lots of manager sackings all of a sudden. Miles Bloke, I'm going to guess that might be Miles, the Championship manager and Football Manager, Sports Interactive man, having himself added as a bit of a joke, maybe, as Miles Bloke, who knows. George Burley, John Collins, who we saw is doing well in the rankings, but Gerard Houllier had a spell as Manchester United manager. It looks like actually a lot of the success came under Houllier. Yep, Alex Ferguson gone very soon after winning the FA Cup and the Premier League in the first year. Oh, well, they won the domestic treble, so it's enough for Ferguson to retire happy, I guess. Gerard Houllier coming in for that long run of domination. Controversial, jumping across from Anfield and Liverpool there. Liverpool, quite conspicuous, I guess, they've got runners up there in 2002, so they were runners up to Manchester United, and then Houllier jumped ship, and it doesn't look like Liverpool have recovered from that. Let's have a look at them. Yeah, very up and downy, and mostly downy. So had that second place finish, then outside of Champions League places, down into the second tier for a couple of seasons, and a couple more seasons of second tier football. So not good for Liverpool at all. They're still at Anfield, 50,000 at Anfield. David Moore's still the chairman 20 years on, but he's not. Perhaps he should have sold to an American somewhere along the line. Most league goals for the club, Michael Owen. Most appearances for the club, 584 for Chris Kirkland. Now managing Woking, but he starts as a young hot thing on here, of course, and he kept that going. Yet they sold Michael Owen to Celtic in 2009 for 16 million. Spent the money, 6 years earlier, signed Martin Palermo for 17 million. So they had a Palermo and Owen strike partnership for 6 years when they weren't doing particularly well. It doesn't sound like the most hard-working, balanced strike force in the world. Any cup success at all for Liverpool during this time? Let's have a look. Premier League, we know they didn't do very well. League Cup, no. Lots of third round and second round knockouts there. FA Cup, one final in 2007, 2008. So that was as close as the Palermo-Owen partnership got them by the looks of it. One winners' medal and 3-4. Very poor in the UEFA Cup. Only one win in the Charity Shield. Obviously, 2 Champions League qualifications altogether, and they're right at the start. One semi-final back then in the World Championships, and 1 Super Cup win in the first season. So not good for Liverpool. Klopp and co desperately needed there. If we look at the current Premier League, Wimbledon and Middlesbrough, Leeds, Southampton, all maintaining the positions that they were in as relatively big teams in 01-02. Wimbledon obviously surviving, Middlesbrough staying up there. Leeds haven't had. Let's have a look, see if Leeds have had years out of the wilderness like they did in real life. Just a few years in the first division, but otherwise pretty strong in the Premier League. Lots of top 10 finishes there. Grimsby, perhaps a surprise team coming up through the ranks. Millwall doing well to be in the Premier League. We know that they've had a pretty good time of it in the Premier League as well, winning it in 18-19. Wycombe have come up through the levels. Manchester City are in the Premier League. I haven't seen their name anywhere else, I don't think, as yet. They've done pretty well, actually. They came up from the first division where they still were at the start. And since then, they've only had 2 seasons back in the first division, both get promoted straight away both times. They've been a kind of third place finish and a fourth place finish, but mostly a mid to lower Premier League team. Any particular big signings in their history? Let's have a look. Highest fee paid. Obviously, arguably have bought their way to success in real life. No huge deals there. Only one double figures. Chris Cummins, a Belgian striker from Chelsea, scored plenty of goals for Anderlecht on his return. 12 million and then 4 goals in 42 appearances for Manchester City. Not what they would have been hoping for. Although, to be fair, they could have been warned, really. He didn't have the best of times at Chelsea after, even at Sheffield Wednesday, he wasn't particularly prolific. Mads Tim, he's a famous name from this version from Manchester United youth system. Craig Bellamy from Newcastle. Alan Putin, another good player on this version of the game, now coaching. But nothing too crazy there. Sergei Balakta, another name that some will know. Chelsea bottom after opening 3 games of the Premier League. Let's have a look to see how they're doing. Let's have a look first if their chairman is Danny Collins. I presume that's not who it is in real life. Alan Shearer is on the coaching staff. David O'Leary now managing here. Tony Adams on the coaching staff. Strong Arsenal contingent there. Chelsea mostly, first decade top half Premier League, second decade bottom half Premier League kind of team. Without Roman Abramovich's millions, £17 million signing in a couple of years back. Andre Ili, 14 million. But otherwise, Roque Jr., big signing for a centre back, 11 million. Nothing too much there. So that's the Premier League history. Manchester United obviously still got the most titles after that first decade in pretty much total control. Any particularly wacky stats out of this? Leeds beating Wimbledon 8-1. That's quite impressive. Obviously, that was in bad end of result for Wimbledon and Southampton. They've had a couple of times in real life. Louis Saha with 5 for Fulham in 1 game in 02, the top goals in the match. Van Nistelrooy still with 8.27 and 11 Man of the Match awards. The sort of standout performance there. A 49-year-old Don Hutchinson playing for Liverpool. Good Lord. Let's have a look. So he's still contracted to Liverpool as a player at age 50. Something has probably gone wrong there. Is he contracted? Yeah, he's still got another 3 years on his contract. Perhaps he was... How has that happened? Still getting the odd game here and there. There was a couple of seasons where he didn't play at all. After arriving on a Bosman from Wimbledon after leaving West Ham. Perhaps he was a player manager and then he's been kept on as a player because he got sacked as manager. Let's just have a look. Squad. Where would I find that information? And everybody's going to be shouting at me. Liverpool history landmarks. Let's have a look, see who has managed Liverpool in Klopp's absence. Richard Norris is the most recent, but Alec McLeish, the old Charlton centre-back, Chris Perry. Alec McLeish coming in at least twice by the looks of it. He's now managing in Spain. Laurie Sanchez, obviously had a big reputation at the time. Co Adriansi, I do not know who Co Adriansi is, but looks like he might have had the poison chalice of trying to take over from Houllier, and then that's where everything started to go wrong and leading to McLeish and Sanchez. It's a bit of a difficult time for Liverpool in this parallel universe, but yeah, no real explanation why Don Hutchinson is still playing Premier League football at age 49 for them. He is leaving on a Bosman, though, apparently. Leaving on the Bosman in... was supposed to be leaving on a Bosman 16 years ago, so that is why he's still around. Okay, something obviously has gone wrong there with the database plugging away to itself. Interesting. Other competitions, let's just have a quick look at the FA Cup. Bit of a mix of owners there, winners there. Manchester United again, strong at the start. Liverpool getting that one win. And then it's been more mixed. Manchester United and Chelsea with a couple each. Villa back-to-back winners. But we've seen a few different names there. Bristol, Leicester. France, we'll just have a look at the first division. PSG, a big team in this, of course, but not with the money that they have in real life. So they did quite well in the noughties. Since then, it's been pretty much domination from Lyon. A few wins for others, but Lyon and Rennes doing well. Lyon had any particularly interesting signings? Let's just have a look at their highest fee paid. Ludovic Gouli from Sedan, good signing. Laurent Robert from Newcastle would have been a good signing. PSG, rich at the Parc des Princes, but I presume haven't gone all out on the money. No, a few big signings, but even a few years where they've spent nothing, or 20,000 this year on one player. No wonder they're rich. They seem to be sitting on the revenues there. The fans won't be happy. If we go over to Spain quickly, let's have a look to see if the Clásico is dominated. Pretty much Barcelona, Real Madrid. Barcelona having the better of it by the looks of it. Actually, Real Madrid in the noughties, Barcelona in the tens, maybe. Although those three Real Madrid wins there, pretty healthy. Bundesliga. Bayern are there, but they've had to share it around a bit. Karlsruhe, Frankfurt, Hertha, Dortmund. Finally, Italy. So Rome are dominant, and they do start in a very strong position. But they've let it slip since 2012. So from 2012 onwards, it's been pretty much just into dominance. It's shifted from Rome with a break for a single Lazio title, shifted from Rome to Milan. No Juventus to be seen, really. They're in Sierra, but not looking great. Anything happen in particular in 2012 to justify that flop? They sacked Andreas Bremer in 13 after it had already set in, but he'd only been there since 2010, so not necessarily obvious why that went as badly as it did. Fabio Capello says sacked, he would have retired presumably in 2010. So it's Capello that oversaw all that dominance, a different history for him, completely dominant with Roma rather than having a indifferent time with England.